Hello, everybody. My name is Fahad, and I am the host of the Energy Podcast. Initially, a few years back, I used to host a podcast called Keto Geek Podcast. So, this is going to be the episode 0 of the show, which is going to serve as a precursor or a prelude to what to expect, why start this podcast, what our business is all about, where we're going to go, and all of the cool stuff. So if you've already gone through some of the future episodes and are coming back to it, this podcast is going to try to be an starting and an anchor point in your journey to what to expect. So without further ado, let's delve into the main question, which is why start this podcast in the first place? And the reason is pretty simple. When we were putting our product in different stores, explaining to people what the products were, the biggest hurdle for the product, our biggest product, which was the energy pods, was that people didn't know what the product was. So some people thought it was caviar. Some people thought it was a Keurig K-Cup. So our suppliers and distributors brought in a very interesting plot twist over here. We're technically opening up a new genre of snacking and creating foods that are very unique in a 2-ounce cup with a paperboard spoon, sort of like a spoon and cup sort of snack. It's a whole new product. So in order to open the genre, we want people to know what the product is to begin with. So from this point onward, we were like, why don't we just start a podcast literally named with the product and just use it as a marketing arm and perhaps an arm to sort of empower a lot of other people at the same time that are going to be on the show. So we were lining a lot of these ducks together, and that's what we're going to be doing. So it's a multi-purpose, multifactorial sort of podcast that you guys can enjoy, and it serves as a great way for us to push the product out there and explain it to people who don't know about it, and perhaps touch the lives positively of many, many, many people, which we used to do with our Keto Geek podcast. So, a little bit of a backstory about our food business. We used to be called Keto Geek with its own podcast called Keto Geek as well, but we changed our name from Keto Geek to KG Food Co. because we wanted to deviate away from specifically from keto and just expand into becoming a health food company as a general company, not just focusing only on keto and low carb, though we still have some very strong ties and roots, and we might even delve a little bit here and there into keto and low carb as well, but we wanted to branch out and explore other avenues of knowledge as well, which is why this podcast is also called Energy Podcast, not Keto Geek Podcast or a keto or low carb podcast. So, a little bit about my backstories. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee. I was raised in a country called Pakistan, and I studied in Indiana afterwards, and then ended up in Napa as the fates entwined. And one of the things I learned throughout my escapades with both cultures was that always to lead with questions. And some of the best conversations, some of the best experiences in life, some of the best knowledge bases that I have tapped into have come from questions, starting with good questions. In fact, I would argue to the point that if you were to judge people, now this has got a bit of a taboo to it. We don't judge people, right? But if we were to sort of vet people, then I would say their questions are the type of questions somebody asks are more of a defining feature of someone's character than the answers they provide. So I would say ruminate on that. Think about it. And let me know in any of the comments that you see over here with this video or the podcast, wherever you find it. So yeah, shoot some comments and let me know how you guys define character as well. But this is how I define character and personality, the type of questions somebody asks. The story behind our product, which is also the name of our podcast, is also really interesting. Energy Pods initially was an attempt to make a chocolate bar that was sugar-free. But, as fate would have it, the chocolate bar melted when it was prototyped at a yoga studio here in Napa. So we decided that, let's just run with the melty stuff. And we put it into a cup, added a spoon to it, and that became the Energy Pods. And then eventually we also got a request from one of our influencers slash friends called Dustin, who is going to be on a future podcast. He said, why don't you guys make something in a larger size when the energy pods are just like super tiny 2-ounce little cups? So we just took the similar ingredient composition and supersized it into a 12-ounce jar, made it a little bit more sweeter and spreadier, and then we have our new product, which was CocoZen, which we brought into the market in 2024, and it's been doing relatively well. So those are the two products that we make at our food business. And if you guys would like to support this podcast, support our journey, or get something healthy into your life, open up a new genre of a snack, or you simply like chocolate, go grab either of our energy pods or our CocoZen, and you will be happy because they're delicious, they're nutritious, packed with protein, almonds, cocoa, chocolate. It's delicious, tasty, healthy. What more do you guys want? So that's the story behind our products. Now let's go back to our show and explain what this show is going to be all about. So the type of topics that I'm going to be exploring are going to be very vast. They're not going to be limited strictly to food, health, and nutrition as my previous Keto Geek podcast was, but we're going to focus on athleticism. We're going to focus on narratives, science, perhaps delve into social issues. Maybe we might have a few shows about how to get a job or exploring the job market. Maybe we might delve into sexuality and dating. And so a lot of the topics are just going to be focused on problem solving because that's how my mind works. And I feel like the podcast needs to be very authentic. And because there's so much noise and clutter in our modern lifestyle, I'm one of those people who likes to cut through it. And the tool that I use to cut through all the noise is high quality science. That's going to be the backbone of this podcast. Now, you might have seen that in many different podcasts, many different places in, just everywhere, you see that statistics can be fudged around, for example, to fit a certain belief or an ideology that somebody might be predisposed to. However, my approach and my loyalty is towards problem solving and making the world a better place. And so my focus with statistics is how can we find a solution to the problem, not to win an argument per se. And this is significantly a different starting point from my previous Keto Geek podcast, which was highly biased, I will admit. Mistakes were made, minds were different. But I feel like I've matured since that sort of experience, and I feel a lot happier, calmer, relaxed. And so our loyalty is going to be to making your guys' life a lot better versus just focusing on a specific camp, specific belief. Because at the end of the day, there is a lot of information. With the advent of AI, everything is at your fingertips. With TikTok, with the Instagram, the whole social media landscape and information overload, I think it's about time we cut through things with some good science, with an embrace of reality is how I would call it, or more like an embrace of quantitative or qualitative reality. That's how we're gonna navigate the waters of modern information. So I'm really excited, and I think you guys will have a blast as well as we just cut through stuff like hot knife through butter, as cliche as that analogy sounds. So next up, how often are these podcasts going to be released? They will come in every Wednesday at 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time. And the format will be where the podcast is going to start with me riffing about what the podcast is all about, why I brought this topic on there, who the guest is, perhaps a little bit of an intro as well, and just try to calibrate and anchor the entire conversation. Sort of like, how you have a present, right? You gotta have the outer case, outer packaging, and all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna wrap it all in the intro, explaining to you guys this is what's gonna be in the show. And then we're gonna unpack it, like a normal gift box and reveal the content, reveal the information, and you guys can have joyful experience. And then at the end of the podcast, we will have a bit of an outro. I have not nailed down what kind of outro I'm going to go with as of yet, but this is going to be the base format. No music, nothing whatsoever, just straight conversations, straight to the point, and having fun while we're at it, right? The type of guests could be very, very varied. Sometimes you might have a researcher, sometimes an author, sometimes an athlete, sometimes it might be just a simple business owner that I got intrigued with while I was doing an event. And here's something I will bring up to you guys, and this is something I want you guys to think about as well. Because, the podcast is also about empowering you guys with the tools you need to navigate life and people around you. Sometimes we do find gold nuggets and gems, even in the most subtle and profound people that we might be ignoring that are around us. So I would urge that perhaps it might be a good mental exercise to reach out to someone that you may have not talked to in the past, or someone who's in close proximity to you, and just start asking questions about what their life is all about. And be curious. Try to understand what drives them. Try to understand what makes them, because that's exactly what I'm going to be doing on this podcast as well. And I'm hoping that this mindset that I'm going to cultivate on this show helps you cultivate a mindset of curiosity, learning, applying good knowledge, making your lives better, and just navigating this modern landscape with the tools that I will do my best to bring you guys on this show. So, without further ado, welcome to the podcast. And once again, if you guys like the content and would like to support me on this journey, please subscribe, leave a comment where you can, leave us a review. That means a lot to me. And if you want to take it one step further, go grab one of our products and see what you guys think. And that's basically all we have for today. Let's get started. And as I used to use this line a lot, this quote, and I'm going to keep using it till I die. Let's do this.